Tonight we discuss the cosmic egg and the primordial questions. Where are we? Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? Aristotle once said, "He who seeks the truth must doubt everything." And even Descartes said, "In order to determine whether we can know anything with certainty, we first have to doubt everything we know." And I hope we can doubt everything we have been taught in school and entertain new perspectives with an open mind. Greetings, I'm your host, Mel Fabregas at Veritas Radio. If you want to listen to tonight's full interview and all of our material, click on the subscribe button at veritasradio.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, want to be a guest on this radio program, have a guest suggestion, or have feedback, just click on the contact button of our website at veritasradio.com. I always love to hear from you. From the words of tonight's special guest, quote, "I am a student of syncretism, which is the science of harmonizing the different teachings, cultures, sciences, religions, and philosophies from current schools of thought, as well as from the ancient mystery schools. Over the last couple of years, I have dedicated my life to trying to piece together the workings and mysteries of our collective reality. Where are we? What are we? Why are we here? And where are we going?" The fundamental idea behind the syncretism is that the answers to these questions do not belong to any one culture, race, religion, or book, but in fact encoded across the full spectrum of our collective reality within this realm. My geocentric cosmic egg model is based on the idea that our entire universe is inside an electromagnetic egg-shaped torus field, with Earth running inside diametrically across it. It is my understanding that there are other lands, dimensions, and civilizations yet to be discovered across and within the plane of our Earth. His name is Martin Keni, and his YouTube channel is linked at veritasradio.com. Martin joins us directly from Southampton, England, UK. Hello, Martin, and welcome to Veritas. How are you?
Hi, Mel. That was a fantastic intro. Thank you very, very much. I'm very humbled by your grand intro. I'm very well, thank you.
And you are not Martin Kenny, the Irish Sinn Féin politician, right?
No, far from it. I'm actually originally from Africa. I'm originally Zimbabwean.
Okay. Well, you were highly recommended by several people, by the way, and I did watch your presentations, and it's one of those things, folks, that sometimes you have to open your mind to new perspectives and completely shatter the paradigm of those things that you have been taught in school. So I hope that, like I said before, open your mind and entertain all this data. And I know it's going to probably be tough, Martin, because a lot of stuff you put it in visuals. So we're going to just speak tonight and do it in a way where people can understand it. And later, after they listen to the interview, they can go to your YouTube channel and watch the presentations. But I'm very curious. How did this begin for you? What was your aha moment? Tell us about your story.
Well, my story began about 2 years ago. Like most people today, it began before that. I got into conspiracy theories about 5-6 years ago. And it was all kicked off by, questioning 9/11. And then the Sumerian text stuff came out, ancient aliens. And I got heavily into that, but just more like a hobby, more than anything else, entertainment, just in my spare time. And then one day, I was perusing through the internet on YouTube, just looking for something to watch or fill in some space. And this flat Earth video popped up on my suggestions. And like most people, I sort of sniggered and laughed off and thought, oh my goodness, is this for real? Like, people actually believe the Earth is flat? I can't believe this is even a topic. But I thought, well, as I'm doing nothing, I'll just watch it for entertainment value more than anything else. And by the way, during this time, I was going through a mental breakdown, I suppose. My life wasn't going too great at the time. Might call it a midlife crisis. I was looking for something. I was feeling empty, the meaning of life. I just wasn't feeling great about life. And I was seeking or questioning what is the point? Why are we here? What is all of this? But anyway, the video came up. It was Dave Murphy doing the Macedonian interview, Flat Earth. So I turned it on and I started watching and sniggering and laughing and mocking, on my own. But within 15 minutes of watching it, as explaining, the whole Flat Earth, his perspective on it, many things sort of started to ring true, and I stopped laughing and I started paying a bit more attention. And I remember thinking to myself, why is this making sense? This should not be making sense because this is ridiculous. There is no way the earth is flat. There's no way. It's just not possible. But I thought, well, I'm just going to stick to it and listen to it because, I claim to be open-minded. So I'm going to entertain it. And after listening to that for the first hour, I was truly, truly well confused. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is crazy. This is making more sense than it should. This is not as silly or as ridiculous as I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of scientific proof in what he's saying. He's not a crazy guy. He sounds like a reasonably sane, intelligent man. So why is he saying these things and where is this coming from? And cut a long story short, I decided to go on a journey to try and debunk this flat earth, like most flat earthers do. I said, I'm going to prove that it's not flat because I realized I knew nothing about the heliocentric model that we're taught. I knew very little of it. So as I was listening to Dave, he seemed to know a lot more about the heliocentric model, how big it is, how far away the sun is, how many rotations, how far away the moon is, how everything, all the details. And I thought, well, he knows more than me. So why am I defending something that I know very little about? And that's where my journey began. So needless to say, after it didn't take me long, about 4 or 5 days, it just became apparent to me that geocentric model of where we are makes way more sense than the heliocentric model.
And as you know, Martin, the flat earth topic is probably, if not the most divisive and controversial topic these days. At least that's the way I see it. I get attacked by doing it all the time. I'm probably one of the few alternative radio people who discuss it with an open mind all the time. So we have people who love it and we have people who hate it. So those who hate it, please stand by. We have other topics to discuss next week. But for those who love it, well, this is going to be a great one. Even those who don't like to discuss the flat earth topic, they will enjoy our talk because we have discussed the inner earth, Shambhala, Hyperborea, New Jerusalem, fill in the blanks. This is important and you discuss it too. Now, I'm going to start with a very powerful question that may not seem related, but I think you've found the answer. What is the meaning of life?
So for me, the meaning of life is to experience, to learn, to share, to grow, and then to move on. Those are the 5 core principles that I've tagged to the meaning of life. We are all here experiencing this reality. Every single one of us is experiencing something. No matter where you are on Earth or in the universe, you are experiencing a reality of some kind. So there's meaning to that. The second part is learning. From the day you are conceived, the day you are born, you are on a journey of learning. You learn how to talk, how to walk, how to read, how to write. You learn about where you are, who you are, why you're here, your family. You're constantly learning. Even when you think you're not learning, you're learning every single day, every second, every moment. The third part is sharing. We, as humans, we have an innate, need to want to share information, share knowledge. Hence, we are on these platforms. Facebook, telephones are big parts of our lives because we are a species of wanting to share. And then there's growth. So again, with learning, with experience, with sharing, you are growing. And there's an element of decay. You are born, you live, you experience, you learn, you grow, and then we all die. That is a truth that we can all agree on. There's no conspiracy theory there. every one of us is going to pass on to something else that's not this reality, into another reality of some kind. So that's the moving on part. And that's how I explain the meaning of life.
Does this give space to the concept? And again, folks, you know I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. But the concept of reincarnation, creation, experience, growth, and moving on, almost like a reset. Do we start again?
Absolutely. That is my understanding for sure. And all cultures and all religions pretty much allude to this if you read them in the right context, for sure. The Bible, the Vedic scriptures, all ancient spiritual cultures, the Dogon tribes, the Kemetic Egyptians, the Nordics, the Celtics, they all talked about this concept of reincarnation, coming back. So for sure, there is that whole thing of growing and moving on. Every time you incarnate, you are a better version of what you were in your previous life, or you should be. This is where concepts like karma come into effect, universal laws come into effect. So there are many things at play. And this karma thing, I think, is a good one to tag, because this also plays into why we've been lied to about where we live, because it has a lot to do with controlling this reincarnation concept.
And we'll dive into your presentation in a moment, but this is probably the most frequently asked question that I get from people who discuss this topic of the flat earth. Why? Why are they keeping it secret? If it's true, and I haven't seen the ball, I haven't seen the concave earth, I have not seen the egg, but I'm open-minded. Why the secrecy if there's indeed a secrecy taking place right now?
Well, like all secrets and all lies that we're told, power and control. Knowledge is power. If you limit knowledge, you have the power. You control whoever you're limiting that knowledge from. So to cut a long story short, there was a time when everyone knew that the earth was flat, and everyone knew the true construct of where we are and the magnificence of where we are. Unfortunately, the flat earth, because we're only starting to rediscover this truth, the information is very limited. But this earth is far larger and far more diverse than even the heliocentric model promotes, because the spinning ball model actually promotes that we are alone. We're on this ball, we're lost in space, and there's nothing else, and only the authorities can save us. NASA will find extraterrestrial lands and extraterrestrial beings and technologies and government. So we're reliant on authority. So we have no choice but to follow. However, when you know the true construct of our flat earth, and you realize that there are lands here on earth beyond, in places that we haven't rediscovered yet, that there are beings that live on this vast plain, not so far away from where we are, you then realize how it's easy to, or why it's necessary for the controllers or the elite who've been running this realm to lie to us about where we are. But also on a spiritual level, it is my understanding, or my understanding rather, that the laws of reincarnation dictate that we all have free will. We're all free to choose, but we're not free from the consequences of our choices. So, for instance, if I died right now, I think the universe would ask me, what do I want? This is the scenario that I picture. This is hypothetical. It's theoretical. I'm not saying it's fact, but this is how I've come to understand it. You are then asked, what do you want to do? Because you have free will. Now, if I only know that I live on a spinning ball, and this is the only place that I know, this is what I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose to come back to Earth, because I don't believe there's anything else in the universe or anywhere else in the universe to go, right? I've limited my choices. So that's a choice. I've imprisoned myself back to this place. However, if you know that there are other lands, Hyperborea, Shambhala, Eden, other beings and civilizations, you can choose to experience a different reality in your next incarnation, right? So you now have freedom of choice. You have more choice, but no one can give you that choice. You have to make that choice. So knowledge is power. Control the knowledge. You have the power. You control the people.
So why is it that we believe that the ancient ones were these soulless savages, and in reality, they knew more about the universe than we do today? Or did they?
Yes, they certainly did. I think it's becoming more and more apparent. Many researchers are starting to conclusively, prove that the ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we are today. The pyramids in Egypt, all the pyramids around the world, basically, Sumerian texts, all the mythologies about Vimanas, spaceships, beings that once visited the earth, technologies that we have forgotten. So definitely in past ages, we were a lot more advanced than we are now. It is also my understanding that everything is cyclical. We go through cycles. Just like we have seasons here on earth, we have summer, we have autumn, we have spring, we have winter. We also have seasons of consciousness. So the Vedics speak about the 4 yuga cycles, the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. Those are seasons here on earth in our universe that we go through. So what we've been through recently, or what we are in now, is the Iron Age. We're in the Dark Age. We're in the winter of consciousness. Hence, the world is such an ugly place. It's cold. We're frozen at the moment, consciously. So we are at the lowest peak of consciousness. So even though we tend to think we are far more superior than past cultures, we're not. We might be more technologically advanced, but technology, intellect, and gnosis, knowledge, are 2 different things. Just because you have technology does not make you more superior. Those are things we have to be very careful about. There's artificial intelligence and there's natural intelligence. So we've lost natural intelligence and we've somewhat gained artificial intelligence. And even that's been limited, by the way. So now we're on the upward curve. We're now starting to awaken. Hence this whole thing of the awakening. We're starting to rediscover things. We're starting to wake up to many things that have been hidden from us for, thousands of years. We're waking up because we're ascending consciously, heading out of the dark age, the winter of consciousness, into the autumn, the Bronze Age, as the Vedic Indians would say.
I'm glad you talked about the yugas and the cycles, because I'm a firm believer. And again, I don't know. This one I'm going to believe because I don't have the facts. But when I look at the megaliths around the world, the pyramids and everything else, I think they must have had technology that we cannot even come close to today. And we've tried to replicate a lot of these accomplishments, and we just cannot. So I think that perhaps something happened, a dark age, a cataclysm, that wiped out the knowledge that was there available to us at the time. And either it disappeared and we did a reset. So we started from sticks and stones again, or they actually hid the information from us. And that's why we're separated by languages, by cultures, by everything else that keeps us separate today. Your take on that?
I 100% agree with everything you've just said. It's a bit of both, actually. So there was a reset. There was a cataclysm of some sort that happened where we descended from the Golden Age into the Iron Age as we fell. And there were a few people who call themselves the Illuminati or the Watchers, who, for some reason, whatever reasons, they kept some of this knowledge. They knew a lot of this knowledge. But instead of sharing it with the survivors of this cataclysm, they decided to keep it within their own close circles. Again, knowledge is power. So they could control this new paradigm that we're coming into. So all the souls that were born during the time after the cataclysm would only know what they are taught by those that are already there. And those that are already there, the ones in control, will have the knowledge. So you will only know what you are taught. And history is so easy to rewrite. It's his story. History is written by the victors, those with the knowledge. And that is exactly what happened. So we fell from from grace. We fell from this golden age that we were once in, and we've been in this dark age, according to the Vedics, for 12,000 years, something like that. And we're only starting to ascend back upwards now, back towards the golden age.
And it's just like what you said about 9/11. It's one of those wake-up moments. Now, maybe in a generation, nobody will know what happened to Building 7. Nobody will know that Flight 93 was supposed to crash in that building, but it was shut down mid-air, and that's what they had to, quote-unquote, pull it. But just as one example, in a generation, nobody will know about that. Now, let's dive into your work because I think it's fascinating. And the part that fascinates me the most, folks, is those layers, those rings outside of our so-called realm. And we'll discuss that. And I think that perhaps that UN Antarctic Treaty from 1961, instead of preserving the flora and the fauna of that area, in reality, they're just protecting the doors. So who knows if those wardens that are keeping us in, I don't want to get ahead, but it's almost like quarantine, but we'll discuss that later. Now, how does the universe look like from a geocentric point of view?
So it's my understanding that, like I said, the Earth is certainly flat and motionless as far as I'm concerned. But we're not just in free space in the middle of nowhere. Like a lot of flat earthers are still stuck on that paradigm that it's flat, there is a dome above us, and that's it. So I decided to go a step further and say there has to be a lot more to it. And after doing quite a bit of research, I realized that a lot of ancient cultures talked about life beginning in an egg, which is what we observe in nature. So this egg turns out to be an electromagnetic torus field. So again, a lot of the ancient cultures speak about this egg being covered by an egg, the Ouroboros. If you look at Hebrew texts, the Orphean egg in Greek mythology had this coiled snake around it. In Kemetic Egypt, the serpent Apep wrapped his arms around the egg of the universe. So you see this snake and egg concept to do with creation. And when I looked further into it, I realized that whenever you see a snake in ancient cultures, it's always depicting energy. So, so putting that into context, that energy, this egg is an electromagnetic torus field that is cocooning us inside this universe with the outside, what we might call the multiverse. So outside this egg is the multiverse. And there are many, many other eggs, according to Vedic scriptures, mainly. So we're not the only universe. There are many, many other cosmic eggs inside the multiverse. But within our construct, we are bang in the middle. We are at the heart of this egg. Heart is an anagram for Earth, Earth heart. So we are right in the middle of the egg. We are the nucleus of this cosmic egg, this electromagnetic torus field. Now, this Earth that we're standing on is extremely vast. The Vedics say it's about 4 billion miles across. So they give a specific figure. They say it's about 4 billion miles across. And it's divided into 4 concentric rings, right? So at the center, in the middle, is what we might call the Garden of Eden, Hyperborea, Shambhala. Many names have been given to this sacred place at the center. And I think at the moment it's a crater continent, and that's at the North Pole, as far as we're concerned from our viewpoint, where we are.
Where Mount Meru is, the magnetic mountain?
Yes, where Mount Meru is. So there's a crater continent there, the Garden of Eden, and it wasn't always a crater. I think at some stage something happened, and during the cataclysm, and it became a crater. But that's a whole different story. But you've got the center, and then you've got our realm where we are, and then outside us there is the South Pole, which is the Antarctica, which is a ring of ice that encircles our part of the realm. And beyond that, there is another ring of land. And beyond that, there is a last ring of land. Now, all these lands are cocooned or covered by smaller electromagnetic torus fields. So like we said, the cosmic egg is one big giant electromagnetic torus field, and then there's a smaller electromagnetic torus field, and then a smaller one, similar to those Russian dolls. So each realm is cocooned by electromagnetic torus field. Now, NASA and a lot of mainstream science, they tell us half-truths. So they're not complete liars like a lot of flat earthers tend to believe that, oh, NASA, everything's a lie that you're told. I don't think so. They usurp the truth. They twist the truth. They tell us half-truths. So NASA quite clearly tells us that the Earth is covered by Van Allen belts, an electromagnetic field, right? So they're telling us a half-truth. So this electromagnetic field, or Van Allen belt, is the belt that's outside in the Antarctica, beyond the ice wall. But there's a smaller one at the center, which we see, and we call the Aurora Borealis. That Aurora Borealis is an electromagnetic torus field, cocooning the central continent at the center, Hyperborea or Shambhala. I don't know if that if that's making sense. I hope I've not lost it.
No. That's exactly where I wanted to go. But when it comes to the toroidal fields around each layer, are they domes where you cannot penetrate them? Or can you? Let's say you and I had a vehicle that allowed us to go to the outer layer, the outer layer, the Antarctic, any part of the ring, and we're able to just go up. Do we crash into that dome, or can we go above the ice sheet until we go to a place we can see ocean? There's another sun, and we'll discuss this. This is incredibly important, folks, so I hope you stay with us. When we go to the other side and we see that there's an ocean heated by another sun and another moon, is this possible? Or do we have the electromagnetic field that does not allow us to penetrate? Or do they have entrances around the world? And this is what the Antarctic Treaty is so powerful. 11 nations, now it's over 60 or 70 of them. Are they just guarding those entrances or exits?
Yes, certainly. So I think there are certainly openings that we can pass through. These are the openings that are guarded and kept secret. But I think the electromagnetic field, according to NASA, we cannot go past the Van Allen belts. NASA categorically says this. Humans, we do not have the technology to go past the Van Allen belts.
So how do we get to the moon?
So, good question. Fantastic question. This is the biggest contradiction that, when you do the research, you realize that, everything we're told is just not making sense as far as the heliocentric model. But anyway, so NASA says we can't go past the Van Allen belts. Human beings, we've not been able to create technology to do so. So I don't think we can just yet. But I do think there must be openings or maybe tunnels through the ice wall where we can bypass the electromagnetic field or something, because there are stories of people who've apparently gone beyond these lands and found these places. Admiral Byrd being one of them. He's been to the North Pole and the Antarctica, and he's seen lands, extraterrestrial lands, both on the outside and on the inside. So for sure, they are guarding entrances. They are the gatekeepers. That's the true meaning of that word, gatekeepers of this realm.
Now, you said an interesting word, extraterrestrial. It makes you wonder if all these craft, and I have no reason to doubt anybody, and I've seen a few of those myself, those craft that we see and people see all the time, could it be that they are from those outer layers and perhaps there's an agreement? Look, you have to be stealthy. You cannot interact with people. Just you can go and be a tourist, but go back.
Yep.
Do you think that those are the quote-unquote extraterrestrials that people see?
Absolutely. It makes way more sense. If you believe that we have been visited by extraterrestrials in the past, in the future, or now, this model makes more sense than the heliocentric model, because they're closer to home, right? And the word itself, extraterrestrial, if you break down that word, extra means what? More of. terrestrial, the root word of terrestrial is terrain, land. So they're telling us the truth. Extraterrestrials are beings from extra terrains of land from where we are. So for sure, there is a galactic agreement of some sort, I think, where these beings possibly are allowed to, we interact with one another or on a government level, but they're not allowed to interfere as we are not allowed to interfere with them. We're sort of just left to get on with our business separately. Again, I think that that the whole thing of the 12 universal laws, free will, unless we consent and we choose to interact with them, they are not allowed to interact with us. And they know they're not allowed to break these universal laws because there are consequences with breaking these universal laws.
Just imagine, folks, what if what we think of Atlantis, Lemuria, and all other advanced civilizations, and perhaps even Egypt, perhaps this was a branch of their headquarters being somewhere else that allegedly populated our Earth, are in fact over there. And what if this section where we are, Martin, is quarantined? Think of a prison. Think of a prison colony like what Australia used to be. What if our layer is a prison and we would, and where would the wardens be? On our side or on the other side?
Brilliant. Excellent. On both sides. So there are the gatekeepers, those that are working for those that are imprisoning us over here. So these are the gatekeepers, the elites, the so-called elites that we talk about. And many of us will be familiar with the terms like reptilians. The reptilians are amongst us. So I think there are beings maybe that are reptilian looking or I don't know, but that are the true rulers that have been ruling this realm secretly behind closed doors and using our politicians and people in high power to keep us jailed or keep us quarantined on this part of our vast and beautiful, beautiful plane. And who's to say that beings maybe in these other lands maybe are also being imprisoned at the moment in the Dark Age? Who's to say that they are also not going through their own conscious awakening and also saying to their own governments, we need to reunite with our long lost cousins, the Lemurian races, the Hyperborean races, the Polarian races, all kind of other races that might be out there, who are all saying we need to reunite and get back to our long lost cousins all over the universe.
Let's theorize for a moment. Let's just speculate. I know that you like to deal with specifics here, but I will speculate for a moment. Imagine for a moment if life originates from the center, from Eden, from Hyperborea, and then we start going outwards. And we're here in this quarantine, and that we call Earth, if you want to call it, or Gaia. And then after a while, what some people consider ascension, 4D or 5D or whatever, it's actually the next layer. And we, instead of ascending to another dimension, we actually ascend to the next layer. And we leave all those things behind as we progress and we evolve into a new reality. And that's the next level and the next level.
Absolutely. So on a spiritual level now, for sure, that is my perspective as well. That is my hypothesis as well. Again, a lot of this stuff is hypothetical. So I'm going to reiterate that so no one attacks me and says, "Oh, you're just making stuff up." I kind of am.
Right.
But given the resources and the information we have, I'm trying to paint a picture that at least makes sense, because we've not been told the truth. We can all agree on that. If you're listening to this radio show, you will agree that we have been lied to about pretty much everything, really. So the only thing we can do is try and piece the puzzle pieces together to paint a picture that at least makes sense, given the information we have. But anyway, going back to the topic, on a spiritual level, for sure, this is the moving on part. All these different realms are different dimensions with different frequencies, with different levels of consciousness, with different experiences. Some are lower vibratory frequency realms, some are higher vibratory frequency realms, but certainly everything begins from the center, the heart. Everything always begins from the heart, from the center. So the Garden of Eden, or this central realm, is the highest vibrational frequency. This is where you want to be going, really, if you're ascending. This is where the goal should be. And I think the further you are away from the center, and the further away you go to the outer lands, the more dense it becomes. The more, I don't think they're hellish or evil places, but I think the less spiritual those places are, the more technological they are. So when I watch a lot of movies with all these highly advanced technology, like the recent one, Altered Carbon, that came out on Netflix,
Yeah.
I imagine this is what these outer realms are like. Very highly technological, but zero spirituality. They've completely disconnected from nature, from spirituality. Everything is artificial, AI, which is where we're heading. They're trying to prepare us for that. You can see that in our everyday reality at the moment. So I think this is where the Game of Thrones is being played. They're trying to keep as many people as possible on a low vibrational frequency, trying to throw technology in our faces so we disconnect from nature, so we don't ascend to these higher realms, the central realm, or maybe even stay here, because this place is raising the vibration. They want people to go to these outer lands, to Mars, as we'll explain a bit later. So they want people to leave this realm where we are now and to go to outer space, the space outside where we are, the extraterrestrial lands beyond where we are, where it's a lot more dense and a lot more disconnected from nature.
That was my next thought, Martin. Conversely, I was mentioning how the outer layers could be more advanced than us. But what if the more outer you are, the less evolved you are, and it's our journey of going to the layers until we get to the center?
Yes, absolutely. So as far as I'm concerned, the cycle of life, all these layers, we all have to go through them, every single one of us. So the Vedics talk about the 14 realms inside the cosmic egg, inside the Brahmanda. There are 14 realms. And every soul has to experience every reality and every realm and everything. You have to experience it all in order for you to have a full virtual reality of this cosmic egg. So whilst I say all that, there are some people who have to go to these places because they have not been there. So I term it as there are fallen angels and there are shooting stars. So fallen angels are going downwards, down and out, because they're coming from the center. These are the gatekeepers. They started as the angels at the center, and then they moved out to where we are. They are now the gatekeepers here, and they'll be moving out to the outer realms and so forth and so forth. And some of us are shooting stars. We're coming spiritually from these outer realms, and we're moving towards the center. So there's like an ebb and flow of energy that is happening on a spiritual level. We're now going into metaphysical realities and not the physical construct.
Are you literally saying, because many people, again, they write to me saying, Mel, how do you explain meteorites? How do you explain all these shooting stars? What are shooting stars in your opinion?
Well, I think shooting stars are souls that are traveling the cosmos. So going back to the cosmic egg model, I explained that we're inside a torus field and egg. We're diametrically across the center of this egg, and we are inside these concentric rings of land that are cocooned in these concentric rings of torus fields. And above the last one is what is known as the firmament, the sky. So when you look up, you're looking up at a roof, basically. This is the firmament that is sealing us. These are the waters above, spoken of in many religious texts. And these are the heavens. So when we pass over, your soul goes into these higher dimensional realms. So when, again, like you're saying, when you see a shooting star, I think these are souls that are traveling the cosmos and going from realm to realm. A shooting star may be traveling from one realm into another, or a fallen angel falling from one realm into a lower realm. That's my understanding.
Now, when we think of religion, especially Christianity, we always think of the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. But this is something else too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So this, all religions, as far as I'm concerned, and many syncretists and many people who have mystics who have studied this in detail will tell you that religion, religious texts are truth, but they're not factual. So again, the Bible is a book of truth, but it's not a factual book. There are no facts in the Bible. Not one thing is a fact, but everything is true if you read it in the right context. It's all allegorical. It's all in parables. It's in stories. So for instance, when they talk about Jesus, the son of man, or the son of God, they're talking about the son. Jesus, the son of God. We are all God collectively. Every single being in existence is God, is a drop in the ocean of consciousness. And God is basically energy, electromagnetic energy. That is all that God is. It's not some being with a beard sitting in a cloud somewhere, like many religious people think. God is energy. Everything is energy. So when we go back to that concept of the Holy Trinity, the Vedics explain it the best. They talk about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So they say, in this universe, all energy is divided into three things. Creative energy, energy of sustenance, and energy of destruction. So Brahma is creative energy, Vishnu is energy of sustenance, of life, and Vishnu is the energy of destruction, duality. Now, when you look even deeper into it, and you look at all the other cultures syncretically, you realize that every single ancient culture has a triad of gods. Every culture, you go to the Greeks, they talk about Phanes and Zeus and Poseidon. When you go to the Christians, they talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Even mainstream science, protons, neutrons, electrons. There's always a Holy Trinity everywhere across the board. So this is where that Holy Trinity comes in. Now, I like to think of it as electromagnetic pulses of sine wave. So electricity, vibration, and magnetism. That is what everything is made up of. That is what God is. That is what all reality is. All reality is electromagnetic pulses of sine wave. Your soul, the true you, this flesh that we're in, is an avatar. It's a meat suit. It's not the real us. The real us is the electromagnetic energy, the conscious energy that is within us, that is interacting through these physical bodies and physical constructs that we're in. I hope that's making sense.
Oh, of course. And Tesla said it best too. If you want to learn the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency and vibration. Now, here's another question. The number 3, 33, 33.3. Why is the number 3 so important in the universe? And the number 4 also?
Yeah, so the number 3 is important for the reasons I've just explained, that everything's divided into 3. Protons, neutrons, electrons, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, etc., etc., etc. So this is where that 3 comes in. So everything is divided into 33.33333%. By 3 makes 100%, makes the whole. This is where you get that Freemasonic 33. This is why they worship the number 33, because they understand this concept of everything being in threes, this triad of electricity, vibration, and sound. So that's where 3 comes from. And the number 4, according to a lot of esoteric teachings, is in relation to form. So 4 is always, when you look at the physical world, everything is in 4s. When you look at the spiritual world, everything is in 3s. For instance, you look at the 4 cardinal points, north, south, east, and west, 4. You look at the 4 seasons, summer, winter, spring, autumn. You look at the 4 phases of the moon. You look at the 4 times of the day, right? Sunrise, sunset, midnight, and midday. You look at Everything's in fours, even our reality. 4-corner houses, 4-sided tables, cars have 4 wheels. There are so many 4s in our reality, in our physical reality. 4 is the number of form. Again, this is why when I created this cosmic egg, I divided the earth into 4 concentric rings of land, because that is what nature is dictating. That is what the science of nature is dictating. So my point of reference is always nature. I don't look to books anymore. If I want to find truth in anything, first I seek it within myself, and then I confirm it with nature. What is nature telling me? What do I observe? Because the sun never lies. The moon doesn't lie. Water does not lie. The oceans don't lie. The trees don't lie. If you observe the science of nature, you will discover the truth of our reality. So again, that number 4 is everywhere within our physical form. And according to the mystics, the number 3 is related to the metaphysical construct of our reality.
Here's another question that we get all the time. Oh, if the earth is flat, how does gravity exist? I don't see why it wouldn't. It would make no difference to me either or. But what's gravity and what causes it?
So gravity does exist, but it's not a physical gravity. There's something called transcendental gravity. So remember, we're saying that our souls, when you pass on into the spirit world, your soul gravitates towards where you're meant to be going. So when you see those shooting stars in the sky, they are being drawn by electromagnetic gravity. They're gravitating to where they're meant to be going. But in this physical construct that we're in, again, we're told half-truths, gravity does not need to exist if the earth is a plane, right? Up is up, down is down, just like our senses tell us, just like our everyday reality tells us, right? I am down because of mass, weight, and buoyancy, right? Those are things we can test. They're not theories. There isn't a theory of mass or a theory of weight. They're facts. But gravity is a theory. Why is it still a theory? Why isn't it just a fact? Because they're not telling us the truth of what gravity really is. They're telling us a half-truth. So they have to make it theoretical. They have to tell us the truth within the lie. So on a flat, motionless plane, I'm down because my weight or my mass is denser than the air around me. If you filled me up with helium, I would become lighter than the air around me, and I would rise off the ground, right? I would become buoyant. So that in itself is a basic, fundamental, scientific proof that gravity cannot exist. Because gravity cannot, unless you're saying gravity is magical, it's got the power to pull all the oceans, flat to the surface, but it allows birds and butterflies and aeroplanes and helium balloons and smoke to freely rise off the ground. I mean, that in itself is mind-boggling, how we don't question that.
So it would actually be density. I've seen these videos of a location where they actually enclose it and they create a vacuum. And then they throw, have you seen it? A bowling ball and a feather, and they both fall exactly at the same speed. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. I think it was Brian Cox who did that experiment, wasn't it? Yeah. Absolutely. And that's proof. But you see how sneaky they are. They say that's proof of gravity, but actually they're proving buoyancy and mass. That's what they're doing. That whole vacuum experiment is proving buoyancy and mass. It's not proving gravity. Gravity does not exist in physical form. There's no need for it. Because again, if we're living on a geocentric, flat and motionless plane, then it only makes sense that the laws that govern why we're upright, why we are not floating off into space, is weight, mass, and buoyancy, and nothing else.
Well, that's another one that I get all the time from people saying, well, if you have a tennis ball and you put it underwater, get it out, and spin it at 1,000 miles per hour, all that water would be displaced and would be the ball would become dry eventually. How is it that if we're spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, our lakes and in quiet afternoon, there's no movement, there's no sound, we feel like we're just staying calm?
Absolutely. Yes, Mel. The proofs are there are many people who are making videos and doing experiments. And it's just, for me, I've stopped even trying to prove that the earth is flat. It's just, I almost forget sometimes I'm beyond that. I almost forget that there are people who still believe the earth is a ball. There are times when I think, oh my gosh, yeah, there are people who think the earth is a ball. I've gone so far down, it's not even a question for me anymore. I'm now seeking things beyond trying to prove that the earth is flat, because it obviously is. There's no argument as far as I'm concerned. But there are people out there who are making fantastic videos and trying to change the paradigm and to get people to wake up to this huge, humongous deception that has been force-fed to the masses. It's a big spell. It literally is a magic spell. When I think back to when I believed it, I'm flabbergasted. I can't believe I believed it. I can't see. It's almost like it wasn't me. Like, how did I fall for it? How did I not see the truth? How is it possible? That's how it feels for me. And that's how I see that it's magic, basically. And David Wilcox did an interview where he talks about how these elites do use magic to keep us under control. It's all a form. Television is a form of magic. Basically, it's brainwashing. It's programming. You watch TV. The whole heliocentric model was cemented, I think, for sure, after World War II. I think before World War I and II, in the late 1800s. Not I think. There's actually proof for it. More people knew the Earth was flat than we are told. Most people were flat earthers pre-World War I. In fact, if you Google a name, John Gorst, if you go on Google and you Google John Gorst, April 29, 1901, I think, a load of newspaper articles come up about a man called John Gorst. He was a headmaster at a school here in England, not far from where I live in Portsmouth. And the article went viral all over the world.
How do you spell ghost? G-O-S-T?
G-O-R-S-T. Gorst.
Oh, A Life of Sir John Eldon Gorst. Yeah.
That's the one. City Council wanted to take him to court for teaching the globe model, fake science, to his kids. They were saying, why are you teaching them that we live on a ball? You're teaching them fake science. So when you look at that, you think, oh my goodness, are they saying that schools were teaching flat earth science in 1901? That in itself blew my mind. It makes you question. Maybe World War I and II were created to change that shift. And if you noticed, straight after World War II, television came in, right? And then we saw the moon landings. And of course, after that, it was irrefutable. No one can now argue that the Earth is a ball because we've seen it on TV. I've seen it with my own eyes on TV, so it must be a ball. Magic. And everyone falls for it. And of course, everyone who's born after that, it's now in the schools. You see how easy it is to change the reality that you're in within a very, very short space of time.
So we're told it was the 1500s with Copernicus and so on, right? Is that what the whole thing is? But in reality, this could be that as early as the 1900s, people still believed the Earth was flat. And I even saw a video of somebody interviewing, I believe it was an Eastern European, and this lady must be in her 40s, I think it was. And she was saying, in Eastern Europe, we still discuss the flat Earth as if it was part of our history. Yep,
absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. I think, everything is up for questioning now. Our history, anything pre 100 years ago, I think is completely different to what we think it is. I think everything we were taught after World War II is nothing like the reality that it was in the 1800s. Our, life in the 1800s, there are people now discovering that there was electricity as early as the 1700s, where it's free energy. You know, there's this Russian guy, I don't know if you've seen him, Philip Druzhiny, I think he's called. He's digging up
I have.
all these images and these photos and of what looks like free energy, you know, from these church towers. And the Eiffel Tower looked like it was some sort of energy device where people are charging devices or cars or whatever it is on these towers. So it's almost like we've actually gone backwards after World War I and II. We're now backwards to where we were going pre-World War I and II.
Yeah, like all these people. Look at Tesla. Where does he come from?
Yep.
Where does Ed Liskanen, you probably know the story of the Coral Castle.
Yep.
Where do they come from? Latvia. All these countries in Eastern Europe. I wonder if they kept all those secrets and they knew about it, and those who came that immigrated to the United States kept them, but the elite made sure with wars to completely eradicate that knowledge, and only a few people were allowed to use it without disseminating the knowledge.
Absolutely, Mel. And again, this is why flat Earth is so important. Because when you look at free energy, going back to the torus fields are electromagnetic torus fields, right? And free energy, like Tesla said, is electromagnetism, right? So if everyone knows that the Earth is flat and we're surrounded by a field of energy that is an electromagnetic torus field, and we can tap into that electromagnetic torus field for free energy, then the controllers go out of business. There's no need for oil anymore. There's no need for, you know, all these, it all goes absolute. We're tapping directly into free energy. So of course there's the thing of money. This is why we've been told we live on a ball, because it kills the whole free energy topic completely.
Now we have to take a one and only break, but let me end this segment with this, and we'll take it on the other side. Folks, you have to listen to part 2. Let me just mention this. So let me understand this. At the center, there is Mercury over the North Pole, or the magnetic mountain called Mount Meru. The next toroidal field or layer is where we are, with our sun, Apollo, and moon, Artemis. Then we have 2 more layers that have their own sun and moon. And check this out, folks. Mars and Venus are the next layers, sun and moon. And the last layer, or the widest layer, with Jupiter and Saturn as its sun and moon, or vice versa. Is this correct?
Yes, that is my understanding of it.
Let's dissect this when we come back. Now, folks, you have to watch Martin's presentations. Go to our website. There's a link there to his YouTube channel. Is there any other link, website, of how people can learn more about your work, Martin?
No, unfortunately, I'm just active on YouTube and Facebook. I do a lot of work on Facebook as well. But for those who are not aware or don't know about Santos Bonacci, I think he's also a very good point of reference.
He's a good friend of this show. Absolutely. We've had him many times, a good friend.
Excellent.
I know he's a big influence on you.
Oh, certainly. Absolutely. Yes. You know, when I discovered the flat Earth and I was looking for that next step, it seemed like Santos was the only one who was that far ahead in terms of, you know, asking the deeper mystical questions. You know, and he definitely helped influence this cosmic egg that I've come to build. A lot of his knowledge, and I've learned a lot off him.
So, folks, when you look up at the sky at night and you see Venus and Mars, change your perspective. What if those are a moon and a sun for another layer? Same thing with Saturn and Jupiter. We'll discuss this when we come back. This is Mel Fabregas. I'm here with Martin Kenny. Much more when we return. You're listening to Veritas. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you for listening to the first part of this very important Veritas interview. To listen to the rest and all of our material, proceed to the members section or subscribe at Veritas.